Hi, this is Lois DeWitt. I'm going to show you how to work over a photograph with pastels, something that I do a lot because I can learn a lot from pastels that way. And what I have here is a photograph that I took with my digital camera and I printed it out. I have a little sketch on here, but that's going to all be covered up because what I'm going to do is go over this with some pastels. I'm going to work fairly rapidly just to give you an idea of the technique. Usually to work this way would take probably, it might take an hour to finish it to completion, but I want to give you an idea of what you can do. And like I say, this is extremely helpful as far as working with any medium. Um, you're a little limited by the size. I can only print out like a 8.5 by 11, I think is what it is. But I, I learn a lot by doing this. So some of the things that you will discover when you're working this way is that how to get that color, how to get the color that's on the photo with the pastels. Well, that's where the learning process comes in. Many times you're going to have to overlay a lot of colors to get that color. That can be fairly lengthy process. I find that I adjust things a lot, change things when I'm working that way. I have a set of about 20, maybe 30 pastels. If you get yourself a set of 10 or 12 pastels, you'll be pretty well equipped to do most of the colors. Of course, the nice thing about pastels is that you can go over. That's a pink I'm putting in now. What the challenge here is that you'll find that you don't have, there's not going to be a color in your pastels for certain colors. So what you'll have to do is figure out combinations that you can overlay to get the color that you want. And that's sort of really what it's all about anyway. But I find this is a really nice learning process. I don't worry too much. It's like a coloring book in a way, but it's much more sophisticated in the sense that it's actually teaching you. You're not just coloring lines. I find that I don't think I have ever done one of these without having learned a great deal. I also find that as I work, I will start changing the colors to some colors that I prefer. Or I may leave them the same. I may try to duplicate the ones that are in the photograph. sometimes it's possible to have so many colors that there are too many choices. Like I say, this is going to look pretty sketchy as I continue. I keep putting colors over colors. And in that kind of process, it gets more refined. But this is just to give you some idea of what this technique is. There's an interesting violet color coming up. Let me see if I can duplicate that. You could see that this violet is very bright and pure. So what can I do to kind of bring it into that color that's on the photo? Go back in with the brown. See how that color changes? I think the more color that you use to make a color, the richer the color actually becomes. It's I think an impressionistic idea where the impressionists used a lot of colors to make one particular color. For instance, I put green in there. Now what if I bring in a yellow? This is, pastels to me, they're a lot like painting. This paper out of the way here for this pastel. Like I say, I'm not going to bring this to completion. There's going to be a lot of areas that I would probably still have to work on. But just to give you some idea of, this is a lot of fun. All you have to do is print out. I would say when you start, take pictures that are very simple objects to give yourself some simple subject matter so that you can work with the pastel, because the idea behind the whole thing actually is to is to learn about pastels. So if you get too complicated and you get bogged down in detail, then the technique is controlling you instead of you're controlling the technique. And as you work, think, well, you know, what color can I use? Maybe I want to change the whole thing around. Maybe I want to make this background different than it is. And of course you can certainly do that. It's a blend of green and orange here. That's amazing. So you're thinking, maybe that's too much over the top. Well, all right, you can bring in another color and just keep on adjusting it till it changes. You're good for several different layers with pastels. You can do that because they are semi-transparent. Some you'll find out, by the way, when you work, that some pigments, some color pigments, are actually more transparent than others. You'll find out also that not all pastels are the same, that you have my recommendation is to get good ones to start with. Pay a little bit of money. What's the difference between a quality pastel and a cheaper one? The cheaper ones are more like crayons. They have a high wax content, and you're not going to get a lot of pigment. So you're not going to be able to do a lot of layering like you do with good quality. You don't have to get the most expensive, but I think that good quality is the way to go. Like I think you get the picture that this would be hard to do with crayons. So, and also working this way, you can learn a lot about painting by working this way. I find that when I paint, a lot of the things that I've gone through with pastels and working in this way has helped me in my painting. I'm just going to finish up here. Like I say, this is sketchy. I wouldn't consider this complete, but it'll give you an idea of how much fun this is to do, how free you can be, and how you can work with a format from a painting or a photograph, sorry, but you can make it into your own personal painting. All right, well, I would consider that probably stage 2 out of maybe 3 or 4 stages of development with that kind of pastel.